Today's video feature is a brief overview and an explanation of the difference between reasonable suspicion to stop a vehicle and probable cause to arrest in a DUI or DWI case. Now, these two terms are legally very significant, critical in fact, and they're often misconstrued and misunderstood. So we're going to clarify and explain the difference. Now, for a police officer to activate a traffic stop, they have to have reasonable suspicion that a crime has occurred or is occurring. And that can be any number of things. Some are completely unrelated to a DUI. For example, it can be things like speeding. It can be an expired tag. It can be a malfunctioning traffic light, or any number of mechanical issues with your car. Now, other things like weaving inside your lane, getting too close to other drivers, stopping too quickly, starting too quickly, these are all indications of possible impairment. But it can be almost anything to stop the car. It's a fairly low standard. The only thing you can't do is racially profile. Now, once they make the stop, then they have to conduct an investigation, and during that investigation, they are trying to establish whether or not they have probable cause to arrest. Now, that is a much higher standard, much higher legal requirements. In a DUI case, how do they do that? Well, it's a process. They go through a series of steps. The first is where they come up and ask you a series of questions while they ask you to do certain physical things. So they'll ask you where you've been that night or what you've had to drink while they're asking you to get your driver's license and registration and possibly insurance documents. So you're having to physically do something while you're mentally processing answers to questions. It's a divided attention test. The next thing they do is they ask you to get out of the car. They watch to observe if you have any difficulty getting out of the vehicle, if you use the doors for support, if you hand walk down the side of your vehicle, how you stand, and they're also doing things like trying to smell alcohol on your breath. The next step in the probable cause investigation is to do standardized field sobriety testing. Now, what you don't know until after it's too late is you do have the right to decline these testing. Just do so respectfully, but most folks are not aware of those rights, and so they try to participate. So the officer conducts a horizontal gaze Nystagmus test where they test the reflexes in your eyes. Next, they'll ask you to do a walk and turn where they ask you to walk 9 steps, heel to toe, take a turn, come back, heel to toe. They're watching how you perform those tests, and there are specific guidances for whether you pass or fail. The last standardized test is the one-leg stand. Again, they're watching for specific clues of impairment. And then at the end, they may throw in some other tests that are non-standardized, but they're trying to build the best case for probable cause to make the arrest. In North Carolina, they have portable breath tests at the street. We do not have that in South Carolina. You only have the breath test back at the station in South Carolina. North Carolina, you have testing both at the street and at the station. Now, the testing at the street is supposed to be done twice, at least 10 minutes apart. The value on that machine is not legally admissible because even we know that it's not reliable enough for that. Then you go to the station, you take more formal breath testing. Again, you give 2 samples, and those samples are in fact used against you. Now, if the officer follows the steps properly and conducts a thorough and appropriate investigation, then they typically do have probable cause to arrest. If they skip steps or do not administer these tests as they're required to do, as to make them proper and make the results valid, then your lawyer can make a motion to dismiss for insufficient probable cause to arrest. And if they have not followed proper procedure, then a judge can in fact dismiss your case for lack of probable cause. Hope this helps.